dear students. Join me in discovering the trigonometric ratios of special angles. Now grab your pen, paper, and self-learning module and let us begin.
Before we start the lesson, let us first test your prior knowledge about today's topic. Let me read each item while you write the letter of your answer on a sheet of paper. Number 1. What is the value of sine 30 degrees? A. 1/2. B. The square root of 3 over 2. C. The square root of 2 over 2. Or D. The square root of 3 over 3. Number 2. What is the value of cosine 30 degrees? A. 2 the square root of 3 over 3. B. 1/2. C. The square root of 2 over 2. Or D. The square root of 3 over 2. Number 3. What is the value of theta if tangent theta is equal to the square root of 3 over 3? A. 30 degrees. B. 60 degrees. C. 45 degrees. Or D. 90 degrees. Number 4. Which of the following is the value of cosecant 60 degrees? A. 2 the square root of 3 over 3. B. The square root of 3 over 3. C. Negative the square root of 3 over 3. Or D. Negative 2 the square root of 3 over 3. Number 5. Which among the following is the value of theta if tangent theta is equal to 1? A. Negative 30 degrees. B. 45 degrees. C. Negative 45 degrees. Or D. 30 degrees.
Now let us answer. For number 1, the answer is A. For number 2, we have D. For number 3, we have A. For number 4, the correct answer is A. And for number 5, the correct answer is B.
In the previous lesson, you were taught how to solve right triangles. Now let us recall solving by answering the following. For part A, find the value of x. And for part B, find the value of theta. You may pause the video so that you may have enough time to answer.
Here are the answers. For number 1, the value of x is equal to 44. For number 2, x is equal to 12. For number 3, x equals 15. For part B, number 1, the theta is equal to 40 degrees and 42 minutes. For number 2, the value of theta is equal to 48 degrees and 11 minutes.
Until now, calculators are used to evaluate trigonometric ratios. But did you know that it is possible to calculate certain angles without the use of calculator? This is because there are two special triangles whose side ratios are known. These two special triangles are the 30-60-90 triangle with the side ratio 1 is to the square root of 3 is to 2, and the 45-45-90 triangle, also known as the isosceles right triangle, with the side ratio 1 is to 1 is to the square root of 2. And from these two right triangles, we have now the so-called special angles. From the 30-60-90 triangle, we have the special angles 30 degrees and 60 degrees. And from the 45-45-90 triangle, we have the special angle 45 degrees. Now that you have learned the special angles, you are now ready to find out the trigonometric ratios of each. Let us start with the trigonometric ratios of the special angle 30 degrees. To get the values, we have to use the 30-60-90 triangle with side ratio 1 is to the square root of 3 is to 2. Now remember, our reference angle here is 30 degrees. Let us start with sine 30 degrees. Sine, according to its definition, is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. The opposite side in the figure of 30 degrees is 1. The hypotenuse of the triangle is 2. Therefore, sine 30 degrees is equal to 1/2. Cosine 30 degrees. Cosine by its definition is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. The adjacent side of 30 degrees in the figure is the square root of 3, and the hypotenuse is 2. Hence, cosine 30 degrees is equal to the square root of 3 over 2. Tangent 30 degrees. Tangent, by its definition, is equal to opposite over adjacent. Once again, the opposite side of 30 degrees is 1, and the adjacent side is the square root of 3. But since our denominator here is a radical, we have to rationalize. So the final value for tangent 30 degrees is the square root of 3 over 3. Cotangent 30 degrees. Cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. So the answer is the square root of 3. Secant 30 degrees. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So secant 30 degrees is equal to 2 over the square root of 3. But since our denominator here is also a radical, we have to rationalize. So we have 2 the square root of 3 over 3. Cosecant 30 degrees. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So cosecant 30 degrees is equal to 2 over 1 or simply 2. The 30, 60, 90 triangle with side ratio 1 is to the square root of 3 is to 2 will also be used in finding the trigonometric ratios for the special angle 60 degrees. Take note, our reference angle here is not the 30 degrees but the 60 degrees. Now following the definition of the 6 trigonometric ratios, we get the following. For sine 60 degrees, we have the square root of 3 over 2. Cosine 60 degrees equals 1/2. Tangent 60 degrees equals the square root of 3 over 1 or the square root of 3. Cotangent 60 degrees equals 1 over the square root of 3. That when rationalized, we have the square root of 3 over 3. Secant 60 degrees equals 2 over 1 or 2. Cosecant 60 degrees equals 2 over the square root of 3, or when rationalized, we have 2 the square root of 3 over 3. And for special angle 45 degrees, we will use the side ratio of 45-45 of 90 triangle, which is 1 is to 1 is to the square root of 2. For sine 45 degrees, we have 1 over the square root of 2, or when rationalized, the square root of 2 over 2. Cosine 45 degrees is equal to 1 over the square root of 2, or the square root of 2 over 2 when rationalized. While tangent 45 degrees is equal to 1 over 1 or 1. Also, cotangent 45 degrees is equal to 1. For secant 45 degrees, we have the square root of 2 over 1 or the square root of 2. For cosecant 45 degrees, we have the square root of 2 over 1 or the square root of 2. To summarize, the special angles used in finding the trigonometric values of special angles were the angle 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and 60 degrees. These angles were derived from the angles that are present in the two kinds of special right triangles, namely the 30, 60, 90 triangle and the isosceles right triangle, also known as the 45, 45, 90 triangle. Now let us make some time to reflect. An anonymous writer once pondered that sometimes in life you find a special friend. Someone who changes your life by just being part of it. Someone who makes you laugh until you can't stop. Someone who makes you believe that there really is good in the world. And someone who convinces you that there really is an unlocked door just waiting for you to open it. Now, in your opinion, what are the things that your special friend has done to make you feel that you are a special person? Now that you have learned about the trigonometric ratios of special angles, let us make some time to practice. You may pause the video so that you may have enough time to answer the following exercises. Thank you. I hope you enjoy learning. God bless and keep safe.